What's this thing? Hey, you got any idea what this is?
Let me take a look. That felt good.
You've got issues.
As usual with these films, we started off with Miracle Light introductions from the fairies.
And while I would usually take this time to expound upon my seething hatred for the Miracle Lights, considering I just obliterated one, I'm cool.
Besides, I'm honestly more distracted by Prudence and how creepy kind of sounds here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the character and do think he's one of the best parts of Star Twinkle, but when Hiroyuki Yoshino tries to sound like a children's show host,
I don't know, it's probably my fault for being unable to dissociate the actor from these characters.
that aside, I'm sure there's going to be nothing else that's the slightest bit off-putting in this intro, and holy hell! Okay, I'm not sure why'd have to be so graphic with that, and this bit of the bird almost choking on his miracle light, but maybe I'm just being overly sensitive and yeah!
Yowie wowie! Well, credit where it's due, this film officially has my attention, so good form, Precure, I guess?
Yeah, anyway, after a ridiculously short OP that comes off more like an AMV as they just overlaid the silhouettes of the Star Twinkle team's transformations, we cut over to said team looking at the stars through their telescopes. Hikaru managed to spot something interesting through hers. It seemed to be a factory where the miracle lights were manufactured.
So, Toei is so against China imports that they outsource from galaxies far, far away? Makes sense to me.
At said sweatshop, they were coating the lights with some sort of liquid. I'm just gonna assume those are the tears of the parents who ended up taking their kids to the cinemas. Good god, ticket prices these days. One of the workers, Piton, got a little lazy with his QC and seemed to start off a destructive chain reaction.
Private Tamuma, you have messed up big this time. Actually, real question, was this meant to be a reference to the actress?
Anyway, after many incarnations of the miracle lights were swallowed up by the darkness, Private Pitamama used one of the last lights to summon forth the Precure. The Star Twinkle team was instantly warped to the factory, and they were warped so quickly that their faces went completely off model. Movie quality stuff here, folks. Though they did at least address the fact that the Cures were somehow able to breathe in space, unlike other toy-related properties, looking at you, Lost Galaxy. However, the laws of gravity still applied to them. They were somewhat rescued thanks to an escaping Piton, who of course had to turn this into a big crossover movie by summoning the Hakuto and Kira teams. Hana briefly acknowledged Hikaru, possibly suggesting that this takes place after their first meeting in Hakuto's final episode, but then why would the future characters still be around then?
Wait, there I go again, trying to make sense of the Precure multiverse.
Anyway, all the Cures ended up swooning over the cute baby chick looking alien.
You're not? So, are you actually Tamama? Or Ryo-Oki? Or Cosmo? Or Popcorn? Or why does this actress play so many different alien mascot characters? Is this a new form of typecasting I've never heard of?
No time to think about that though, as the evil force that was overflowing out of the factory began to attack them. Thus, we got our first fight scene of the movie with the veteran teams acting as the vanguard.
And yeah, unfortunately, I was unable to secure a Blu-ray in time like I did with All Stars Memories.
Because this actually does look like a decent fight scene, obscured by poor video quality. Still, everyone managed to get in their stuff, with even the Kira team looking kind of impressive.
Just
already!
And here I thought I was getting away from this stuff after I finished Doki Doki series review.
Though I do have to admit, these weird cut-in panels of just the Precure's heads are kind of getting in the way.
But I'm sure they won't take up that much more time in the movie. Right?
The Star Twinkle team soon joined in and gave us space battles that I wish we could see more of in their series. Come on guys, if you're not gonna follow up on the whole imagination thing, at least give us this much.
Well, of course you girls wouldn't know. You're just contracted workers and not full-time employees at Toei. Be honest, they just don't want to pay the employee taxes. Am I right or am I right?
However, even with 3 teams working together, the Precure were unable to hold back the enemy. Thus, of course, we got the requisite miracle light scene, complete with even more of that fourth wall breaking magic Harry got from the last movie.
I don't think a lot of kids would want to do that after seeing your creepy off-model face.
But yeah, the lights started to summon forth even more Precure teams, because aside from the babies, these things are the most OP Deus Ex Machinas in the franchise.
Let's just rip off the band-aid and let these things solve all of our problems. Okay, yeah.
For once, the Miracle Lights didn't solve anything at all. The Precure were KO'd, and the older teams were unable to even join in on the fight. Granted, that might have been because they were stuck in their running animations, but yeah, for once, the lights weren't the end-all be-all solution.
Don't know about you guys, but I'm really digging this movie. That's probably going to dissipate quickly, isn't it?
With the Precure taken out, the president of these bird aliens ordered the immediate arrest of Piton and detainment of the Precure, who had all been separated after falling onto the neighboring planets. The original Hakuto trio and Hikaru landed on a planet of Mario clouds. I mean, you try to explain why they're not falling through these things.
Hikaru, I truly miss you sometimes.
The Hakuto 6 Rangers, Harry, and the Bed-Eyed Cures landed on a supposedly volcanic planet, and yet it looked more like Sugar Rush. Oh yeah, and Elena and Maoka were there too. Hard to keep track of them sometimes. Anyway, it was hot, but yet not hot enough to melt skin, you know, in spite of all the lava and everything, but kids movie, I guess. Luckily, Ruru had a built-in cooling system that everyone took advantage of in a very suggestive manner.
Dude, what did you honestly expect to get out of the White Devil? Also, it pretty much goes without saying, but this is the best part of the movie.
The remaining characters landed on the residential planet of the bird aliens, Planet Miracle. Get it? Miracle lights and all that. With their factory planet having a worse meltdown than Bethesda after its last physical quarter, the Miracleians were understandably panicking. What was Ichika's solution to all of this?
That's right, let's give these birds a peaceful death through diabetes. In direct contrast to Hana, I did not miss you, Ichika.
Oh well, at least they made up for it by giving us what they promised in the trailers, Lala in the Kiripati uniform. They managed to comfort the residents of the planet with their newest suite, which thankfully was not listed on Toei's website and therefore I have no obligation to make. And they managed to impress even the cynical Piton.
Well, all of them except for the teal ones.
However, just as things were getting comfy, the Fuzz arrived with warrants for the Precure and their fairy friends.
Honestly, it's just par for the course for the rest of this movie.
And Piton instantly became one of the worst movie mascot characters as he tried to ditch everyone, unwilling to accept the consequences of his possible actions. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say there's an actual evil mastermind behind all of this, but this literal chicken is refusing to accept responsibility for what by all accounts was his fault.
Yeah, and I guess we're just supposed to follow this obnoxious little pigeon as he goes through his little arc and everything.
Meanwhile, Team White Devil was about to be captured by the slowest net ever. Seriously, they had enough time to transform and discuss an escape plan all before the net even touched the ground. Heck, Ruru and Emiru had enough space to jump up a considerable distance. Regardless, the cops managed to still net all of them. And just to add on to the pile, the darkness had arrived, now taking on the forms of the corpses of its captured victims. That's just lovely. However, the variants managed to both escape from their bindings and repel the darkness, starting with Yukari and Akira using some impressive trapeze skills. This was followed by Emiru just stepping on them. I mean, I thought first she was hitting them with the space bikes they were dragging, but no, she basically just did some wall running all Prince of Persia and that was enough to defeat them?
That makes sense to me.
Inspired by their seniors, Elena and Madoka also tried to escape and, okay, what's the deal with Elena's leg here?
Yeah, in case you can tell, the character model work here is off a lot, and I think I know why, but I'll save that for the end.
Anyway, while they managed to rather easily repel the darkness, again just stepping on it seemed to kill it, the cops still managed to capture them.
Well, that was pointless.
Meanwhile, Hikaru and the Hakuto trio were making their way up through the clouds, again using some Mario physics that let them go through them and yet not fall through them. And when the darkness was about to envelop them, they were protected by Piton's miracle light that Hikaru had picked up.
Woo.
It also managed to warp its creator to them, along with the president's assistant, Yango.
Precure.
Gee, I wonder what role he's going to play in this.
Hikaru suggested that they could use Piton's light to guide them through the darkness, and then apologized to the Hakuto trio for rushing into things, again. Oh yeah, there was this poorly integrated subplot with the Star Twinkle team pulling a rookie move during the first fight with the darkness, and that somehow ended up messing things up because they didn't work in harmony with everyone else. I don't know.
It was just so poorly presented through some bad animation that I legit didn't include it in my first draft of the script.
Anyway, we of course got some more fourth wall breaking miracle lights nonsense, this time with Fua turning into a G1 Pokemon sprite. It's not even really all that exciting of a scene, mostly just a Precure walking through the clouds. I personally appreciate the Dig Dug reference, but I can't imagine this really engaging the kids in the cinemas enough to make them want to start waving their lights around. There was a short fight near the end of the sequence, but by this point in the movie, the animation had taken a severe downgrade. Like seriously, how did we go from this to this?
まあ、こんなもんだろう。
They escaped the darkness, and Piton now believed his light would be able to save the day as soon as he completed it.
Oh, don't you just love the character arc this bird has gone through? He started off as a lazy worker, then a deserter, then a fanboy, and now he believes he's the savior of the universe. Boy, I am just so invested.
They made their way back into the factory to complete it, only to be caught by the cops with all the others. The president arrived and understandably tried to take Piton's light after hearing that it could save the day. But again, proving how great of a character he is, Piton got into a tug of war with the chief of staff. To try and convince him to hand the light over, the president went into the backstory of the miracle planets.
すべてのミラクルライトが失われた今、宇宙に思いを伝えることは不可能。
Oh, hey. Thanks for letting us hang out here while our Wi-Fi's down. What's up?
Seal it.
Pardon?
Just peel the plan away already! I don't care! What was with that stupid
Cut. You feel better? Good. Now, go finish the review and remember what the doctor said. The things we do for good Wi-Fi.
So anyway,
For me, this was the definite low point of the movie, which between the bad animation and unlikable side characters is really saying something. But, as I keep saying, I loathe the Miracle Lights, and this one line pretty much sums up all my problems with them.
so it's not enough that the Precure are powerful icons that represent the best aspects of humanity. Oh, no. They need these stupid, gimmicky little flashlights to get that message across. Our superheroines are playing second fiddle to the flashlights.
Look, I get it. The Miracle Lights IRL encouraged the young target audience to interact with the Precure, thereby giving them a stronger connection with the characters. However, what's the point if they're just going to degrade our heroines with stuff like this movie? For the most part, the Precure have failed to secure any significant victory in this movie so far, outside of feeding the birds, which even an old man on a bench could do. And now you're telling me that they need these things in order to protect the universe? I mean, I know they've underplayed the importance of the star pens in the main series, but come on. My point is that most Precure films, our heroines usually have at least a few victories under their belt by this point in the film, and usually the only reason they needed to resort to the lights was because of the escalating conflict.
Thus, the few times I actually tolerate the Miracle Lights is when A, they don't take up a significant amount of the film's runtime, and B, when it's clear they're a desperate last resort.
I don't like films like this and New Stage 1 where the lights are the end-all be-all MacGuffin of the movie, because at the end of the day, it paints the Precure as incompetent and unable to solve problems on their own.
And at some point, when the kids in theaters' arms start to get tired, they'll start to realize that these girls probably aren't all that worth cheering for, which goes without saying is the worst possible result.
Anyway, to complete his light, Piton needed the finishing liquid, which Yango just so happened to have. I'm guessing he got some fresh tears from the parents in the cinema.
Nah, but seriously, after seeing that this all started when the finishing liquid suddenly went bad, Piton of course took the time to inspect it and make sure that it wasn't tainted. Nah. He used it like a little moron he was.
So, unsurprisingly, his light was infected by the darkness, and even more unsurprisingly, Yango was this movie's big bad.
Isamu Maruyama stepped away from overseeing the writing of Star Twinkle for about a month for this. Yeah, not exactly all that worth it.
Yango revealed his true form as the Great Space Overlord. Jeez, where's Zeta when you need him? All hope seemed lost, but Piton's Miracle Light still had a little juice left. I'm guessing it's because of those dang Energizer batteries.
Going and going and going.
Piton explained his plans to the Precure with probably the worst shot in the entire film. I mean, holy hell, I think most of the kids in the cinema could have drawn better fan art than this. To bust them out of their cage, Harry, going into full Cosmo mode, ran a stolen bike into it.
Oh, I wish I was watching the Konosuba movie right about now. At least the characters going off model there was on purpose and added to the comedy.
The Precure, and eventually even the President, helped Piton reach the top of the station, again to try and complete his Miracle Light. And to buy him time, the Precure once again tried a combination shield spell to hold the discount Zeta back. But this time, the Star Twinkle team was able to properly sync with them, bringing that absolutely riveting subplot to a rightfully sudden and underwhelming resolution.
Yeah, so the bad guys defeated. Let's just wrap things up and... Huh? Oh, well, that's actually an interesting twist.
Yango possessed his victims and turned them into his evil cheer squad, complete with their own variation of the Miracle Lights. He was going to defeat the Precure with a plot device that they have become over-reliant on in these movies in a manner that you could argue isn't that much different than having the characters break the fourth wall and have the audience join in the zombified masses.
This really deserves its own movie, as they could explore why and how viewers cheer on their heroes. How many more minutes do we have left in this movie? And yet again, an actually interesting concept is buried due to the presence of the All-Stars.
Speaking of whom, we got brief cameos from the Sky, Princess, and Futari teams, with only a grand total of 4 of them speaking one line each, because you know why.
The voice actor budget!
Oh, shut up. Back with Piton, he was unable to find any untainted finishing liquid to complete his light. With the Precure taken out, he cried at his inability to cheer them on.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't yet seen this part of the movie when I originally wrote that tears joke at the beginning of the review, but now it's an actual plot point.
Man, all you really need to become a Precure writer is being a totally unapologetic cynic.
So, to save the Precure and the entire universe, the President helped out by,
I'm done. I'm just done.
This is supposed to be the big dramatic climax of the film, the point where our heroines come back from the brink of despair, and yet we're looking at an owl shake an oversized baby chicken in order to get its tears to fall onto a little plastic flashlight.
Really? What else is there to say?
Let's just wrap things up. So, Piton's light was finally completed. It purified all of Yongo's victims and gave everyone in the universe their own light. Good, means no one has to go see this train wreck. And for no particular reason, all the other veteran cures joined in on the wave, even though again, they could only bring back 4 VAs. Thanks for coming to the recording studios, ladies. Your paychecks are in the mail.
声優さんに挨拶もできなかった。なんか同じもの作ってる感じしなかったですね。
And they defeated Yongo with one of the worst and most ridiculous finishers in any of these crossover movies, with everyone just going underneath Hikaru's skirt.
Girl, are you trying to beat out Mana as the Precure Harem King? Because I'll tell you right now, that's a losing battle.
Thus, the movie ended with Piton getting a promotion, and everyone, including the purified Yongo, joining in on what's looking more and more like a magical girl cult.
I'll say this at least, it does feel like a good script is trying to get out, and with some rewrites, it might have gotten out. Then again, the really poor execution, especially with the animation, probably wouldn't have saved this massive disappointment.
Like I said, the Dark Light subplot deserved to have a movie all its own. Also, I kind of like the idea of the president acting as somewhat of a red herring, at least I think that's what they were going for. But yeah, those two concepts together actually might have made for a pretty good movie. Maybe have something where it looked like the Planet Miracle government had distributed the Dark Lights and play out a sort of They Live scenario where the higher-ups have manipulated the citizens into believing their cheers would benefit them all. They could still keep the evil secretary twist if they don't want to get too anti-government, whatever. The message of learning about who and how to cheer for the real heroes would still come across. And I think that's my biggest problem with this film, along with the presentation, which we'll get to in just a minute. To me, the message is incredibly muddled because of the presence of the Miracle Lights. The Precure are, in my opinion, some of the most effective role models for their young target audience. Cheering for them and wanting to see them succeed shouldn't require any special bells or whistles.
'Cause you didn't need them. You still have all the bravery and courage it takes to save the day.
Again, if the Miracle Lights are used sparingly, I don't really mind them. The problem with this film is that the Precure practically needed the lights to succeed at doing anything throughout this, even walking through some clouds. Though, funny thing, even though this film was clearly meant to glorify them, there was almost a cynical tone to how the lights were portrayed, from the clear sweatshop setting to Piton's lax attitude. It almost seemed like Isamu Murayama outright didn't want to write a story about these cheap little plastic flashlights, and I wouldn't blame him. When even the story doesn't seem to care, then really why should we? Moving on to the production side of things, this has got to be one of the cheapest looking Precure movies I've ever seen. I kind of got that feeling when I saw that short and overly simplistic opening, but I never imagined it would get this bad. Now, to be fair, characters going off model is nothing new for Precure. The problem is, outside of the first fight, there's a distinct lack of actual motion to cover up these flaws. I get the feeling like this was an incredibly rushed production, as there was clearly a lot of visual shortcuts taken, in particular the obsessive usage of head cut-ins. Which is a bit of a shame, because the staff here is made up of some fairly competent animators like Hitomi Matsuura, who could even work with the meme face factory that was the Smile Precure movie, and will likely do a good job with Star Twinkle solo movie coming soon. But the fact that I'm having a hard time even finding a storyboarder credit tells me that this was at the very least a mishandled project. Moving on to the characters of the film. Yeah, that's what I want to know too. I mean, these birds just did not have that much to them. Piton's arc is just so all over the place that it's hard to get invested in. He starts off as a lazy worker, then a Precure fanboy, then a cynic, then a fanboy again. There's just so little actual transition between each of these that he ends up coming off more bipolar than anything. The president, by default, was probably my favorite movie character, as at the very least, he had motivations that were clear, and he wasn't just a stereotypical evil and or incompetent politician. It's not much, but at least gives me something to latch onto, unlike the antagonist of this film. While Yongo's reveal was easy to predict, it was still pretty damn sudden, as we didn't even get to learn anything about his backstory. Granted, crossover villains are often stingy with their backstories, but for a character that can just suddenly take over the whole damn universe, a little explanation would be nice. Oh yeah, and when it was all over, he just reverted back to his little crow form because reasons. As for the Precure, again, not much of a presence. The past teams mostly just played mentor roles to the Star Twinkle team, who I guess were supposed to be like the inexperienced rookie team. But again, that subplot was so poorly established that I kinda missed it on my first viewing. Honestly, this is probably just another case where the movie probably would have benefited if they just did away with the all-stars holding the new characters back. So thankfully, we're getting what looks like a much better solo movie soon, and no, I don't mean that one, that's a hopeless cause. Now again, to be fair, Murayama did at the very least include some of those fun miscellaneous interactions as she usually does with all of his crossovers, like the Ruru cooling scene, Hikaru with the Hakuto trio, and Lala Beiki at the Kiripati's outer space branch. Little moments like these were quite nice, but ultimately short-lived because they need to get back to the convoluted plot involving the pigeons and their glow sticks. Overall, this film is very close to the bottom of Precure movies for me. I don't think it's the worst of the worst, as there were at least a few good scenes, and at times it was so bad that it unintentionally entered into so bad it's good territory. Still, hopefully after this year, Toei will finally shake off the anniversary bug it's had for a while and keep its crossovers to a minimum. The Reiwa era has just begun, so let's start building some new legends.
And that's all I really have to say.
Next time I'll cover the second half of the Hakuto manga, thankfully with less intrusive crossover nonsense. And be sure to check out my weekly Precure reviews of Star Twinkle or whatever Precure series is out by the time you watch this.
And until then, no farewell for now, my friends, and... Hey, could you help a guy out here? Thanks.